We made it and we're smiling. Welcome, Angel Ito. How are you?
Good. I mean, how are you doing? You just made it through several hours of live interviews, interviewing, some of Chicago's most influential dancers. How does it feel to be at the end of an incredible milestone?
It has really flown by, I'm told it was 7 hours, but it feels like we just got here. And I think, like that's actually a testament to everybody that's been our guests here today. It's easy to sit here and listen to them. Absolutely.
So, what were some, just highlights for you that you were able to take away in some of those conversations? Anything that personally stuck out to you as a dancer?
As a dancer, that's a good question. I think it never hurts to be reminded, no matter what role you play in this dance field, how connected we all are. And, within the dance community, I mean, Chicago is the third largest city in this nation. But the dance world is still as big as it is. It's small, and that we none of us do this alone. It's a communicative art form, and just to be reminded of that, and to create this space where we can kind of tease out different connections than we might, in a class or a rehearsal or backstage during a performance, has been a real opportunity and a real gift that I didn't quite expect, being in this role now. It's nice to be able to translate some of that community to talking about dance, really.
Yeah, no, I definitely can understand that. Now, were there any kind of themes that you might have noticed in some of those conversations? I know that the Chicago Dance History Project is very passionate about diversity and inclusion within dance, whether that be on stage, behind the scenes, and all of those different areas within the dance communities, like all of those jobs that we were able to hear from today. What would you say were some of those similarities that stuck out to you, whether it be from a dancer or a choreographer or a creative director? I'm sure that they all had a lot of commonalities.
Yeah, it takes a village, and that's sort of the approach that Chicago Dance History Project takes as well, trying to document as much of the community as we possibly can. And of course, that usually happens one interview at a time, like today. But here, throughout this day and throughout all the interviews I've been conducting over the past 5 years, that's something that seems really to distinguish Chicago, is these partnerships that form, and that art doesn't exist in a vacuum, obviously, but we don't exist in vacuums either. And just the partnerships and the collaborations, and the influences that everybody has on each other, and the extreme camaraderie here, that I hope, even today I was seeing, new relationships form. So I'm excited to see what types of collaborations or creations might come from, folks who got to meet for the first time in the green room today.
Right. There were so many cool people I was chatting with in the green room before this, so I can definitely understand that. Now, we're looking at just like that sense of community that you talked about. How would you say that the Chicago Dance History Project, in the last 5 years that you've been there, and then, of course, looking at the future, how would you say that you all have been working toward continuing that sense of community within Chicago's dance community?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I guess the short answer is by consciously being a part of it. CDHP is sort of a unique model in the sense that, I feel it's a very creative organization, and yet we are, we're documenting and we're archiving, but it's sort of like the boots on the ground version of it. So in the sense that we're trying to really just examine histories right along with everybody else and provide a platform for hearing those narratives firsthand from those who lived the history themselves. I think that is something that is now definitely the foundation of who we are. And it took us a while to realize that, because we don't necessarily have a model to follow in that way. And so I do want to continue that. This was just our first event of 2021 in a sense, even though it was a big one. So, you know, hopefully we can rest a little bit in February, but I do want to, you know, as everybody is shifting the ways in which they work and the ways in which they present their work in this time, it's actually a way for us to be more inclusive at once rather than conduct one interview at a time. It's hard to let go of that intimacy that happens, you know, face-to-face, one-on-one with somebody for an interview. And I think that's something that's really special, and we probably won't do that again until we can do it safely. But with Zoom, we're looking at more events that everybody can participate in. I'm hoping to start a series called Family Reunions that would bring back the Joseph Holmes Company and the dancers and Deeply Rooted and, you know, all the Tharp era of Hubbard Street, you know, to really hear collectively about those experiences. So that's one way. Another way we want to continue the inclusion is by creating more programs, again, for voluntary participation. So we have something called the Archive Dive, which is really meant to even just kind of kickstart artists into doing some DIY archiving as well. So we're building these microcosms of little mini collections. So you can go to the CDHP Digital Library and just get a glimpse of the Seldums or Ayako Kato, who both of them have already participated, and that's open to everybody. You know, some things have to happen one by one, so inclusion takes time. But that's something, even though, you know, we're a small team and it might take a while to participate, that's open for anybody who has a connection to Chicago dance history and wants to contribute to the Archive Dive. Please do so.
I'm sure there are a lot of people now, as they're hearing this interview, they're like, oh, I've got a great photo or something that I think could really add to the archive. I think probably my mom, who I didn't tell you, she used to dance for Joseph Holmes when she was a young student. Yes, and she's watching, so she will appreciate, you know, that little shout out. But it's so cool to just hear about all of the different ways that you all are working to document, you know, just Chicago's dance history, because I think we a lot of times forget how important it is to just have that documentation for future generations. And just speaking of myself as one of those future generations and looking at the photos of my mom when she used to dance with him and his company, and how that transpired in her career as an artist, and how that influenced me in my work. So not even to get into that, but just thinking about how influential it is that this documentation is just really helping the next generation think about how they might want to pursue dance, what that looks like, recognizing the diversity within the archives. And so just want to thank you for the work that you all have been doing and just continue to do. But I know that we're running out of time here. Were there any other final remarks that you wanted to share or make?
Well, if there were, I might scrap them for a minute, because what just happened there is sort of like crystallizes how CDHP works. It's such a generative project. And, you know, when you and I met and you told me that you studied with Pierre Laquette, I said, okay, you know, you're going into our database. You're now on our list. Angel's mom, you better watch out, because we're going to be calling you too. And that's exactly how it works. You know, so anywhere that these connections are formed and any way that they come to me, you know, that's definitely how it happens. Yeah. So I think, you know, better than anything I could possibly say after 7 hours of doing this, that right there is just really sort of crystallizes who we are and what we do and how we do it, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also just say it's just a reflection of Chicago. It's ingrained to be there for each other and to be connected in all of these ways, whether we realize it or not. So like I said, yeah, thank you guys for documenting just the trajectory of everyone's work. And I know that it has been a very productive and successful day. So happy to chat with you and give you a second to rest before you say goodbye. But just wanted to thank you guys again so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for flipping the script and putting me in the hot seat. I guess I deserve it after doing it to everybody else. Yeah, thank you so much. And I also want to thank, as they hopefully will join the stage with us, everybody who's been working and running this marathon with me behind the scenes. I hope they can hear me, and so they know, or Patricia, you can give them the signal. Yeah, to come out and take a bow seriously. I guess as they do that, what I will say about Chicago Dance History Project is that it is a community too, and we don't do any of this work alone. And what I love about documenting and archiving and learning about dance is that it's, archives aren't some musty old thick tome chained to a desk in a library somewhere. They're active and they're engaging, and history is being made every day, and it's being made by all of you right here. And so I want to take this second. The credits will roll, but please, look at these beautiful faces and read their names and know that they were definitely instrumental in making this day happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We made it.